Hi, everybody, it's me, Prasadini Shetty, and you're listening to a brand new episode of Say It With Me, folks, Movie Review Mondays. So, as you can clearly hear, I have a live studio audience with me because I finally figured out the technology of making the voices in my head heard to the general public. So, that's great. Nobel Peace Prize coming soon. So, if you guys are wondering what this episode is going to be about, you probably aren't because you've seen the title. It is Challengers. And actually, it's also known as the Zendaya tennis movie. I think that's the alternative title now because that's how people know the film as. It is a 2024 sports romance drama film directed by Luca Guadagnino. If you know, you probably know that he's also directed Call Me By Your Name, starring Timothée Chalamet. He's directed Bones and All, starring Timothée Chalamet. And this film doesn't have Timothée Chalamet, but you know who it has? It has Josh O'Connor, Mike Waste, and the ever so beautiful Zendaya. Now, you must be wondering, I wonder what this film is about. And now you're probably wondering, wait, how did she read my mind? Technology, baby. Anyway, the film is about Tashi, a tennis player turned coach, and she has transformed her husband from a mediocre player into a world famous Grand Slam champion. To jolt him out of his recent losing streak, she makes him play a challenger event, close to the lowest level of tournament on the pro tour. Tensions soon run high when he finds himself standing across the net from the once promising, now burnt out, Patrick, his former best friend, and Tashi's former boyfriend. Drama. So, I want to start my review of the film by talking about how tense the whole thing felt. And I assume I am not a sports fan either, but when you watch a sports match, everything feels tense. There's a time limit, there are people, there's so much at stake. And I think that feeling of feeling like you don't know what's going to happen. Like literally anyone can win the game. Anyone can take the right swing and the game is theirs. That's the feeling that was encapsulated throughout the entire movie watching experience. So the film starts with this tennis match between our two male leads, which is Art and Patrick. And that match continues throughout the film. And this film uses one of my favorite cinematic techniques, and that's the non-linear form of storytelling. So it jumps from the past to the present, and we can tell that it's the past or we can tell that it's the present through the characters' costume and hairstyling. Now, this usage of time jump through costume and hairstyling usually happens in period movies, like period pieces, but I really like the more modern take on it, and I think the hairstylist did such a good job, especially with Zendaya's bob. I think Zendaya's bob deserves its own Oscar nomination because of how flawless the choreography was. There's this one scene in the end where, they're playing tennis, spoiler alert, and the spoiler alert is that they're playing tennis. And we see her bob her head from the left to right and right to left, and her bob is swaying. It's swaying. Like the choreographer on set was like, I'm gonna make that bob slay, and that's what exactly what they did. I also think that keeping the hair choreography aside, if we sway on to segue into the writing of the film, personally I felt like it felt a bit lackluster. Not as much luster as her hair, because I feel like all the other elements in the film were doing such heavy lifting. The cinematography, the music, the performance, literally every single element, that the writing didn't add a good base. Now, I want to say that this film had a very standard sort of plot where it was more character based and character dynamic based rather than, plot exactly. And personally, films like those are hit and miss for me, because if you don't feel invested in the characters or their dynamics with each other, the story might feel a bit flat, which is what I thought. I do think though that the characters themselves were very exciting. And the performers brought so much to this whole thing. And I love it when the performers, the actors know their characters and they're on par with the writers, because they truly understand and bring elements that elevate their performance. And if it weren't for the performers, I feel like the script would have been slightly boring. I want to talk about Zendaya's character, Tashi Duncan, and she is stuck between these two guys. One is Art, who is played by Mike Faist, and he worships the ground she walks on. Relatable much? Nah, I'm just joking. I will build a temple on that ground. Anyway, Patrick, on the other hand, is a character that truly understands her and challenges her. Drum roll. No, do not add drum roll, editor. Please do not do that. This dynamic of the push and pull, between the safer choice about somebody you think you're supposed to be with versus a person you actually want to be with because they challenge you and push you, I think it works. Those scenes, those moments of tension in the film personally worked for me. That was when I was the most excited, because I felt like theme-wise that truly represented tennis, when you're moving from this to that. And people have said that Tashi Duncan's character felt like a ball of tennis, aka tennis ball, which was being swapped from Art to Patrick to Art, and it created this like back and forth, this pull, which again adds to the tension of the film. I do feel though like the character development in this film comes at the very end. So their character arcs feel like a sphere where essentially the way they started and towards the very end of the film, there's very similar characters, kind of like a tennis ball. It's a very spherical arc. But in the end, we see this like shift, especially in our male lead, Art. The most obvious character development comes in Art's character. Like that's what truly comes through on screen. You can see the fire, you can see the passion in him. And I think out of all the three characters, we see Art's arc sort of move more forward and more obviously throughout the film. I do wish it came sooner, or I do wish it persisted more, because it truly added another edge to the film. But it comes and it's over. In like 15-20 minutes, the film's over, and it feels like there's more that I desired, but I didn't get anything else. I also felt like Tashi's character didn't really go where I truly wanted it. Maybe it was a more subtle approach to her character, which is also fair. But I feel like Zendaya is such a powerhouse when it comes to performances, and I feel like she can do so much more, and she can really like subtlety can be damned. She can put in her 100%. And Tashi's character has that sort of like, fire in her in the start of the film, but obviously because of her injury and she can't play tennis anymore, as the film progresses, she sort of loses that and gets into the back seat and controls her husband's arc more. So that's fair. I think these choices make sense. It's just personally I would have liked it to go in a slightly more different direction, because I think that it would truly complement the fast-paced, tense like edge that this film has you on the whole time. And I also wanted to say that the male leads of the film had such impeccable chemistry. It felt very subtle, it felt very tender, and it resonated really beautifully. And I think on screen, I think they did a great job. So yeah, I think their chemistry has been beautiful to witness on screen. Now, I would like to talk about my favorite part of the film, and that's the cinematography. I think you cannot mention Challengers and not talk about it. This film's I've been raving on about how tense it felt, how fast-paced it felt. I think 60% of the credit goes to the cinematography, the movements of the camera. They've used POV shots, they've used jib cranes, they've used like this tracking thing. I mean, it makes sense. It's a tennis film. You're watching this match play throughout the film. You need to be invested, and it feels a very sports broadcasty, but Luca has added his own twist to it, which I think is just marvelous to see on screen. There is this one segment in the film, the climax sequence, which is, I think, one of the best scenes I've seen this year, where you literally become the tennis ball, you as the audience. There's a camera that's mounted into the ball, and they whack the ball across the net, and you have no idea who's scoring what. And for somebody who knows so little tennis, I was even more disoriented, but I loved it. I felt like I was being whacked by the tennis paddle thingies. I'm very good at tennis terms. I feel like that thing should be a ride at Universal. I think it would be, oh my God, just imagine just being whacked from one side of the court to the other, and on the other side of the court is Mike Faced waiting for you. Moving on, talking about the music of the film. I think, again, the music complemented the cinematography so much, the movement so much. It's given this hyped stakes. Like when you say the stakes are high in music form, that's what Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, I knew that, added to this. It has a very EDM-y, poppy, techno vibe to it, which is insane, because there would be these scenes where the characters are literally going through it. They're probably at rock bottom, but you hear this techno beat playing, and you're invested in what they're saying, but your head's just bobbing. And I think that adds to such a fun element to the film, which really elevates the film. If you're somebody who never cared about tennis before this, I would still urge you to go watch this film, because all the other elements, the colors, the shots, the performance, Zendaya, they leave you interested, they leave you hooked, and it's a good experience. I think that's what cinema is for, having a good time. In totality, to conclude, I think this film was a very hype, tense, good brewing of different elements coming together, and I had a blast watching this film in theaters, and I think you guys should catch it too before it comes on video on demand. That was my review for Challengers. If I had to rate this, I would rate it 3.5 tennis balls out of 5. And if Mike Waste or Zendaya are watching this, I am free on Thursdays. If you didn't hear me, I am free on Thursdays. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode, brought to you by No More Fake Plants. I think we've run out of our plant budget, maybe next year. But thank you so much for listening to us, and we will be making more episodes, and hopefully you guys will keep enjoying them. Thank you so much for watching this episode. We hope you liked it. I hope to see you soon with another episode of Movie Review Mondays every Monday. Thank you so much. Hope you have a good day ahead. Bye!